TikTok is everywhere. It's a cultural juggernaut that entertains, informs, and connects over 1 billion people around the world. TikTok being owned by an American company doesn't make the platform safe, and it never will. Oracle, Walmart, the US government, they only have partial control. ByteDance, no matter what, will always have minority control, which means Beijing's engineers still have access to Americans' data. The threat isn't the logo on the app or the nationality of its CEO, it's the infrastructure underneath. The algorithm, the data pipelines, the machine learning models that power TikTok, they were all built inside China's digital ecosystem, where there's no separation between corporations and the Communist Party. A different company owning TikTok might change the paperwork, but it doesn't change the code, the culture, or the control. TikTok isn't just an app, it's a weapon. It's a tool of influence and control, and it's being wielded by the Chinese Communist Party in a whole new kind of war. This isn't a war with bombs or bullets. It's fought with algorithms, data, and ideas. And the stakes? They're nothing less than the future of democracy. So, why should you care? Because TikTok isn't just shaping culture, it's shaping how people think, what they believe, and who they trust. If you think you're immune because you don't use the app, you're wrong. The people voting in your elections, shaping your kids' worldviews, and influencing your workplace are on TikTok, 95 minutes a day. And behind it all is an adversary with a proven track record of exploiting media to destabilize democracies. This isn't about entertainment, it's about psychological warfare. And most people have no idea it's even happening. In 2016, the president of the People's Republic of China, Xi Jinping, made it clear that the CCP's propaganda efforts must extend globally. This directive underscores the party's belief in the strategic importance of controlling information to influence international public opinion. TikTok, with its massive global reach, has become a key instrument in this strategy. Former Deputy National Security Advisor Matt Pottinger says, the Chinese Communist Party has stated explicitly that it wants to use tools like TikTok to win the global majority. Xi Jinping calls this a smokeless battlefield, a war fought not with guns and bombs, but with ideas and influence. TikTok is a weapon in this ideological war. TikTok's global influence isn't just about entertainment, it's about power. It's about Beijing's strategic goals. It's so much more than just a platform for funny videos. It's a weapon in a new kind of war. This is a story of how a simple app became a geopolitical threat. Let's start with TikTok's reach. With about 2 billion active users worldwide, TikTok has become a part of daily life for nearly 1/4 of the planet. Think about that for a second. Right now, 1 in 4 people on Earth is scrolling through TikTok. It's shaping how we consume information, how we express ourselves, and even how we see the world. But here's the thing. TikTok's influence isn't just massive, it's unique. And honestly, it's kind of terrifying. In just a few years, TikTok has blown past almost every other social media platform. As of 2025, it has over 150 million users in the US alone. That's more than any other app. Globally, it's in over 150 countries. But this isn't just a feel-good success story, it's a story about influence, control, and how algorithms can shape public opinion on a global scale. Studies show the average TikTok user spends over 95 minutes a day on the app. That's more than Instagram or Facebook. And for younger generations, TikTok isn't just entertainment, it's their main source of news and information. A 2024 Pew Research study found that 60% of Americans under the age of 30 rely on TikTok as their primary source of news. That's insane, and it's a big problem. Unlike traditional news outlets, TikTok's content isn't regulated, it's not verified, and it's curated by this mysterious algorithm that prioritizes engagement over accuracy. This creates the perfect storm for misinformation, propaganda, and manipulation. Matt Pottinger put it perfectly. TikTok isn't just cat videos and dance challenges. It's the main platform by which an entire generation of Americans communicates and acquires their news. That's a level of influence we've never seen before, and it's controlled by a company with direct ties to a hostile totalitarian government. Xi Jinping himself has called platforms like TikTok tools for a smokeless battlefield. The CCP's goal is to use apps like TikTok to win the global majority by shaping the public opinion in their favor. And this isn't some conspiracy theory, it's a documented strategy. TikTok's global reach is both its biggest strength and its biggest danger. With over 34 million videos uploaded every day, the platform is a goldmine of data, not just for advertisers, but for governments and intelligence agencies. Every like, every comment, every share feeds into an algorithm that learns more about you, your preferences, your fears, your political leanings. And with that data comes power, the power to influence, to manipulate, and to control. So here's the big question. What does it mean when a platform with this kind of influence is controlled by a company with direct ties to the Chinese Communist Party? What does it mean for democracy, for national security, and for free speech? These are the questions we're going to tackle in this series. But one thing is already clear. TikTok's global reach isn't just a story of success, it's a story of power. And the consequences of that power, they're only just starting to unfold. Let's talk about who's really pulling the strings behind TikTok. At the heart of TikTok's success is its parent company, ByteDance, a tech giant based in Beijing. ByteDance isn't just a regular company, it's deeply tied to the Chinese Communist Party. And that connection, it changes everything. So ByteDance was founded in 2012 by Zhang Yiming, a guy with a vision to revolutionize content delivery using artificial intelligence. By 2017, ByteDance had acquired Musical.ly, a popular lip-syncing app, and rebranded it as TikTok. The app's rise to global dominance, it's the kind of success story that Silicon Valley dreams of. But behind the scenes, the Chinese government was quietly embedding itself into the company's operations. Here's where it gets interesting. In 2021, ByteDance received what's called a golden share investment from a Chinese government fund. Now, 1% might not sound like much, but this golden share gives the CCP special rights within the company, like influence over key decisions. And this isn't just a ByteDance thing. It's part of a broader strategy by the CCP to maintain control over China's most powerful tech companies. Now pay attention to this. ByteDance's editor-in-chief, who oversees all the company's apps and their content, also serves as the Communist Party secretary, a position directly appointed by Xi Jinping and his general office. This structure demonstrates that ByteDance is not just a private company, but effectively operates as an extension of the Chinese state. Xi Jinping himself has made it clear. Companies like ByteDance aren't just businesses. They're tools for advancing the CCP's strategic goals. In his own words, the party's news and propaganda work is a major matter for national governance and national peace. That's not just a philosophy, it's a directive. In ByteDance, they've gone to great lengths to hide these ties. Historical records, websites, and documents detailing the company's party affiliations have been systematically erased, but researchers have pieced together the truth. ByteDance isn't some independent Singapore-based company as it often claims. Its CEO might be the public face, but the real power lies with the CCP-appointed secretariat that oversees its operations. So what does all this mean? ByteDance's ownership and control aren't just a corporate matter, they're a national security issue. The company's ties to the CCP, its legal obligations under the Chinese law, and its global lobbying efforts reveal a coordinated strategy to expand China's influence through technology. This isn't just about TikTok being a fun app, it's about power. And as we dig deeper into TikTok's role in shaping public opinion and national security, one thing becomes clear. This is a weapon and geopolitical battle for control. That leads us to TikTok's CEO, Shou Zichu, and his ongoing crusade to defend the platform. If you've seen him in action, whether it's testifying before Congress, posting heartfelt videos on TikTok, or making public statements, you'd think he's leading the charge for free speech and creativity. But when you dig into his arguments, they start to fall apart. He's repeatedly claimed that banning TikTok would be a violation of free speech, framing the app as a beacon of American values like freedom of expression. In one of his statements, he even called it ironic that TikTok, which he says reflects American ideals, is being targeted by US lawmakers. He's also leaned heavily on the idea that TikTok is a lifeline for millions of small businesses and creators, emphasizing its economic impact in the communities it fosters. But here's the problem. None of this addresses the actual concerns. The issue isn't about free speech or creativity, it's about national security, data privacy, and the app's ties to the Chinese Communist Party. The First Amendment is about protecting US citizens from US censorship, not foreign interference. This is not a violation of freedom of speech because the government is not banning the app, it is simply mandating that TikTok must be owned by a US company and not controlled by the US's most dangerous adversary. Chu conveniently sidesteps the fact that TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, is subject to Chinese laws that could compel it to hand over user data to the CCP. And let's not forget about his attempts to paint TikTok as a victim. Chu has accused lawmakers of unfairly targeting the platform and has even encouraged users to share their TikTok success stories as ways to fight back. It's a clever PR move, but it doesn't change the fact that TikTok's data practices and potential for influence operations are legitimate concerns. At the end of the day, Chu's defense of TikTok is more about distraction than substance. He's great at talking about the app's positives, but when it comes to addressing the real issues, like its ties to the CCP and the risks it poses to national security, his arguments fall flat. It's a classic case of smoke and mirrors, and we shouldn't let it cloud the bigger picture. All right, here's something we don't think about when we're scrolling through TikTok. Data. Every time you open the app, you're not just watching videos or liking posts, you're giving away a ton of personal information. And I'm not just talking about your username or the videos you like. TikTok collects everything. Your location, your viewing habits, your device info, even biometric data like face prints and voice prints. Now you might be thinking, okay, but don't all social media apps do this? And yeah, they do. But here's the difference. TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, is based in Beijing. And under Chinese law, ByteDance is legally obligated to share data with the Chinese government if they ask for it. That's not a conspiracy theory, it's a fact. China's National Intelligence Law of 2017 requires all Chinese companies and citizens to cooperate with state intelligence efforts. That means if the CCP wants access to TikTok's data, ByteDance has no choice but to hand it over. And that's not just speculation, it's the law. ByteDance has offices all over the world, including a major presence in the US. According to US Citizenship and Immigration Services data, nearly 2/3 of ByteDance's H-1B hires in the US between 2022 and 2023 were Chinese nationals. And these aren't just any roles. They include positions within TikTok's US Data Security Division. That's the team that's supposed to keep American user data safe. In 2022, a BuzzFeed News investigation revealed something pretty shocking. Leaked audio from over 80 internal meetings at ByteDance confirmed that employees in China had accessed non-public data from US TikTok users. One ByteDance employee was even quoted saying, "Everything is seen in China." Let that sink in for a second. Everything. After that bombshell report, TikTok launched something called Project Texas. The idea was to store all user data on Oracle servers here in the United States and have US-based personnel oversee it. Sounds good, right? But here's a problem. Even with Project Texas, ByteDance engineers in China could still access the data. And it's not just about data theft. The Justice Department has raised concerns about something even more insidious: covert content manipulation. Basically, TikTok's algorithm could be used to subtly shape public opinion, amplify divisive narratives, or even suppress certain viewpoints. TikTok and ByteDance use an internal tool called LARC to share sensitive data between employees in the US and China. This includes information about users' content preferences, political views, and even private messages, acting as a direct pipeline for data transfers to China. That's not just invasive, it's a serious risk. And it's not just a hypothetical risk. In December 2022, ByteDance admitted that some of its employees had accessed data on US journalists in an attempt to identify sources of internal leaks. Think about that for a second. They're using TikTok's data to spy on journalists. This all ties back to China's National Intelligence Law. It explicitly requires companies like ByteDance to support, assist, and cooperate with state intelligence efforts. So even if TikTok wanted to resist government demands for data, it legally couldn't. And it's not just about government officials or journalists. A cybersecurity expert explained it perfectly. Even if you're just a regular user, the data TikTok collects can still be used against you. It can be used to build psychological profiles, predict your behavior, and even manipulate your opinions. This isn't just about privacy, it's about control. Here's the bottom line. Data is power, and in the hands of a company with direct ties to a hostile government, that power becomes a threat. TikTok's data privacy concerns aren't just about individual users, they're about national security, democracy, and the future of free speech. So the next time you open TikTok, ask yourself, is it really worth it? Because the cost of using this app might be a lot higher than you think. So I'll ask you again, why should you care? Because the world's most powerful propaganda machine is hiding in plain sight, disguised as an app on your phone, and we're giving it our attention, our data, and our trust, voluntarily. That influence is shaping minds at scale, and that power is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. This isn't fear-mongering, it's fact. The question isn't whether TikTok is dangerous, the question is how much longer we're willing to ignore it while it reprograms an entire generation from the inside out. So what can you do? Delete TikTok, not as a symbolic gesture, but as a real, deliberate act of digital self-defense. Then talk about it. Share why you deleted it with your friends, your coworkers, your followers. If you're a parent, block it. If you're a teacher, warn your students. This isn't about being anti-fun, it's about being pro-freedom, pro-privacy, and pro-awareness. The first step in stopping foreign influence is refusing to participate in it. This episode is just the beginning. If you've got questions about TikTok's rise, or if you've seen firsthand how it's influencing people around you, drop it in the comments. I respond to every single message, and your feedback could shape a future update or the post-series Q&A. If this made you think twice about what you're scrolling through every day, subscribe, hit like, and share it with someone who's still saying it's just an app. Find me at Why You Should Care Now on all platforms, or reach out directly at info@whyyousshouldcarenow.com. Full breakdowns and bonus content are at whyyousshouldcarenow.com. The algorithm wants your time. I want your attention.